All right, and we're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, Insight and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us here at the Lakers Fast Break, it is sincerely appreciated. All right, we're heading home, back from a long road trip, but we go back with a pretty good record. Not quite what LakerTom and I were hoping for or thinking that we're going to do, but you know what? We'll take 5-2 as the Lakers finish off their road trip with a 107-99 victory over the Atlanta Hawks. A game where, tell you what, the new additions, glad they were here because Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell did a fine job as far as their performance is concerned. AD chipped in with 25 points. LeBron James chipped in with 21, 9 assists and 7 rebounds. Overall, a strong game from him. They managed to go ahead and play good defense on Trae Young for most of the game. And outside of an end of the third quarter lapse, the team looked pretty good, especially for a team that's been on the road for so many days. So I want to go ahead and say, good job, Lakers, heading home 5-2 on the road trip with a 107-99 victory over the Atlanta Hawks. And here today to talk about the game is 3 awesome guests indeed. I'm going to start off, since he was first here, about the man. Well, he's the mastermind himself. It is the man behind LakerHolics.com. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing today at LakerHolics.com. It is LakerTom. And LakerTom, again, not quite what we were expecting when they went on this road trip, but nonetheless, a nice way to send them back to Los Angeles.
Well, it's a win. That's about all you can chalk up for it. I was frustrated the entire game watching what was, every pivotal point in the game when you get ahead by like 6 points and you have a chance to take it up to 9, and then you have a chance to take it up to 12. Every time we got to one of those points, we took a bad shot, or we ran in our offense just into these isolations with LeBron and AD. We had no movement at all. It was just a terrible game from that standpoint. Our defense was okay. Give the Hawks credit. They hung in that game very tough. Trae Young is a handful to handle. Their bigs played fairly well. They have the number 9 ranked defense in the league, and it's a dramatic improvement over previous years. So the Lakers were lucky to come out of this with a win. I thought there was a good chance that we might have blown it and not been able to hold on. AD just frustrates me to death, and LeBron too. And the turnovers and just running the clock down to where you've got to take very difficult shots. I mean, LeBron hitting that clutch 3 when we were down by 1 there was really, really a big play. And I hate to think that winning and losing a game comes down to LeBron settling for a 3, because basically he was settling.
Yes.
And so it's the same malaise, I think, that's bothered us the last few games, and why we
I think there's also a little bit of fatigue because it was the end of a road trip.
I think there's fatigue involved in it, and it'll be good to get home again. Hopefully, we can figure some things out, but the offense just looks horribly creaky. And the defense, some good shot blocks, but all of the blocks that we got tonight seem to be the kind of blocks that are from behind when the guy doesn't expect it. There were none of those blocks where you really prevent the guy from going up and dunking the ball type of blocks. So I was pretty dissatisfied with the Lakers' effort. I thought every time they had a chance to put the pedal to the metal and create some separation, they failed to do so, and then they failed to stop the Hawks coming down at the other end of the court. It's an interesting thing. Be nice when we get Trae Young as a clutch client to sign with the Lakers. But until then, good game by Dennis. Dennis came through with some clutch moves. Harold had an excellent game, played well. We had a lot of guys who contributed. Alex Caruso saved the game again, with that offensive rebound. Some just clutch plays by Alex at key moments of the time, and I really have come to like him as part of the closing lineup.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's still for me something I'm going to give them a little bit more slack in the fact that they did look tired. It looked like at the end of the road trip type blues, but again, they were able to fight through it, especially after that dismal end of the third quarter. They did come out strong in the fourth quarter, played very, very good defense, went on 11-2 run to start the fourth quarter, almost gave it up, but about 2-3 minutes left in the game. But you know what? They did come back strong to close it out, which was something we didn't see in other games where they weren't closing out the game strong. So I truly am glad to see that the Lakers did pull it out in the end. I've also got here one of the best and most awesome fans of Lakerholics.com. You got to catch what he's doing in the comments or whatever he's doing in part of Lakerholics.com. It is LRob. And LRob, your thoughts on the road trip, your thoughts on today's game. I really dig your insight as far as what's going on with the Lakers right now. So I want to hear your thoughts on what you liked about this game and maybe some of the things you didn't like as well. Although, again, be gentle with the Lakers. They're going home.
Well, first, I think me and was it you, Sean, or maybe it was Jamie? I don't know. But I think somebody else was with me on the 5-2.
You were 5-2. Sean, I think, was 5-2. Admiral Akbar, it's a trap. He picked 4-3. So
I'm feeling good. But overall, actually, I think we're reversing seats this time. Last game, we were a little tough on the Lakers, and Tom, he was more optimistic. Today, I'm like you, Gerald. I think you could really tell it was the end of the long road trip. All the rotations just was a step slow on the backside. I liked that they were aggressive and trapping Trey and just not letting him dictate, forcing him to give it up and make decisions. He's a great passer and a really talented offensive player. So you can't just let him do what he want to do. But they were a step slow. AD particularly on a few, that I thought he could have came in and deflected it or got it on the backside. Capella's, he's good though. He's got those long arms. He's great at lobs, so that's a tough play to stop. You got Herter over there spotting up, and he's a really good 3-point shooter. Thankfully, DeAndre Hunter wasn't there. If Hunter was there, I don't know if we would have won today because he's a really, really good young player.
He's been playing well.
Yeah. So LeBron, you can tell he was pacing himself. He was in command. He was really trying to get everybody involved. Schroeder, like you said, he played a very good game. Montrez, he brought it. He was hustling on defense. He just doesn't miss shots. So, he played very well. Kuz made some good passes. Caruso did what he normally do. So, I was happy. I was satisfied. That's what you want to do at the end of a long road trip. You just want to gut it out, get the W, and get home. So
absolutely, they did fight through it. But, there was a lot of fatigue, I think, going on with the Lakers, and I just think that again they were fighting through it on the end of the road trip. I think, especially in that second half, they were that end of that third quarter was really struggling. But they pulled through it. That start of the fourth quarter convinced me that they had the mindset right going back home, and that's the mindset you want to have at the end of a long road trip. And also here today,
I like them attacking Schroeder. Attacking Trey Young a little bit. I thought that was the one thing I would have liked to see them do a little bit more in the fourth quarter. Was let's make this guy play some defense. Yes, quit giving the ball to LeBron every time. Give it to Schroeder. Put him in the pick and roll and let him attack. And
because Trey Young is not a good defender at all.
No, he doesn't want to play defense. So I thought they should have took advantage of that a little bit better, but they did on a few possessions and it worked out. So.
Well, also here today to talk about today's game is a good man indeed. You also have to go ahead and check out his posts every time he does and goes ahead and makes one at Lakerholics.com. It is the MagicMan. And Sean, I wanted to ask you real quick your thoughts on how they closed out this road trip, but also the additions. Are you a little bit more confident? Are you feeling a bit better about Schroeder and Harold because today they showed their worth today?
Oh, absolutely, Gerald. I thought Schroeder did a great job, like LRob was saying, of just making sure Trey was on his hip pocket, and when he let him go, he just let him go. He didn't try and chase him down and get into those and ones with Trey Young, because once he get those and ones going, he can chuck them from 35 with confidence and not
He
even
got
blink an eye. I
one.
mean,
He got
he
one
got
36
one.
footer.
Yeah. So I thought it was a good game plan overall. If you look at the stats, both teams combined for only 67 rebounds, so there weren't a lot of long rebounds. Both teams got a lot of quality looks. One unsung guy off the bench I thought was Talon Horton-Tucker. Played 19 minutes, didn't score, but he got 5 rebounds. He was active. He was trying out there. He didn't look lost again. So I thought it was another quality outing for him as well.
Well, it was something that, again, where he did play a factor, even though he didn't put too much into the box score. He was, I think, for the most part, a good defender. Something that LakerTom is touting when it comes to THT a lot is the fact that the kid can defend. We're worried about his lateral quickness and things of that nature, but so far, LakerTom, he's done a pretty good job as a defender.
Yeah, he's everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and his strengths are obviously he's got a real strong body, great length, and long arms. But he's not the quickest guy moving laterally. He actually has one of the top 3 defensive ratings on the team, right behind Alex Caruso. So the defensive ratings are a little like the plus minus ratings that they vary often. You can point to a lot of it depends on whom you're playing with and how well they're playing, but it's like Caruso, those types of players really add a lot to the team. He got a couple of nice passes to Trez again, and that's been one of the combinations. I like the idea of him running pick and rolls with Trez. Next to LeBron, THT has the most assists to Montrezl Harrell of anybody on the team. And he found him a couple of times tonight. And so I like the fact that Frank stuck with the rotation. He stuck with that 9-man rotation. We saw a second straight game of under 100 points, which says good things about the defense despite being tired. I agree with LRob that a big turning point in the game was when we finally started to trap and hedge and double on Trey Young and force the ball out of his hands. You just can't let him get into the post, and that's the big change the Lakers have done defensively, and why they made the changes at center. They wanted to be able to prevent guys from getting into the paint and prevent them from getting to the rim by doubling and trapping and hedging on the ball handlers off of screens. They waited a little too long to do it tonight, I thought, because there was a period of time where Young was just getting these little floaters, which are like candy for him. He must have made 4 or 5 of those little 2-foot floaters in front of the basket. And he is a handful to try to double even. Several times he was able to split the doubles, but we figured it out for the last half. I'd say the last half of the last 5 minutes of the game, we really figured out how to slow him down, forced him into a couple of turnovers, and really stopped them from scoring. We held him to 23 points in the fourth quarter, which is a great effort for the team. And we held them to 99 points. So you can't complain about the defense. It's going to help reinforce the fact that we're still the number rated 1 defense. I think the problems are really more the offense, that we just really need some movement. We need some off-ball movement and some screens and things happening, because it's basically give the ball to LBJ or AD and stand there and watch them. And that's just, it's an easy recipe to fall into when they're tired, like you said, at the end of a road trip like this. And man, we fell into it because we were really stale on offense tonight. And thank God LBJ was able to hit that long 3, and Caruso was able to grab that clutch rebound and make some good plays, and we survived. AD shot still, even though he was 10 for 14, he still does not look the same from the free throw line. He doesn't look the same from 3-point range. It was good to see KCP get up and hit a few shots tonight.
He was 5 for 6 though from the free throw line.
Yeah, but a couple of those five that went in bounced around and barely got over the rim to go in. It was not like we've seen where he makes 22 out of 23 and they're all just nothing but net. Sean,
technical, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Gerald. That's funny. Tom mentioned AD's little. Yeah, his shot is wonky. His rhythm is a little wonky from the free throw line. It's a little interesting if you juxtapose AD's wonkiness with Bam Adebayo in Miami. Bam is shooting almost 60% on long twos. He's really, really improved from the 3-point line. He's almost becoming a primary scoring threat in the way we thought AD was. So it's very interesting how those guys had about 74 days off each. And one's come out of the gate struggling a little bit, and the other one's has improved dramatically.
Well, that's notwithstanding. You're seeing a lot of individuals out there that are still trying to work their way into shape. I mean, Luka Doncic, you can say that about several other players that doing the same thing as what AD, I think, is doing. I don't think he took it seriously as far as that off time. Of course, LBJ, I agree with our good friend Rafael Barlow of NBA Draft Junkies that he is a cyborg and that he doesn't feel anything unless it's on a back-to-back on a second half in Detroit. That may be a little bit different. But LRob, I wanted to ask you, when you're watching the Lakers now, they're heading back home. They have is it 15-6 record, I think, right now, or 16-6? 16-6. 16-6 record right now. Again, second right now in the Western Conference. Do you see now going home as being a good thing? Because they play very well on the road. They have been playing well on the home. What do you think that needs to be done as far as little small tweaks to go ahead and maybe start getting back on the road as far as, pardon the pun, as far as being able to play better at home? Because that so far has been something that they don't have very well done very well, is have that kind of focus at home. They should have some easy games outside of Denver coming up on the schedule, but still, you got to go ahead and win those games at home.
Yeah, I think like Tom said, more movement, like you guys have alluded to. Get more movement at home. Get out and run, man. Get some easy buckets. Don't slow the game down. Just get out and run. Play a little freer. And I think just having a few days off and being back at home and not having to do all the travel, you'll see them come out a little more aggressive at the beginning of games. So I expect them to get back to how they were playing when they were winning a lot of games comfortably, some blowouts, and get the confidence back up. And, they'll probably open up the rotation. I'm sure he's not going to keep Peace and Matthews on the bench forever. So get some blowouts, get everybody playing, start feeling good. I think I like where they're heading now. Just finishing this road trip, I expect them to bounce back. I mean, they got the monster, the Joker, coming in town Thursday, so that's a problem.
That is a problem, but
yeah.
Again, that's not anything that the Lakers can't handle, or at least go ahead and fare well against, because the Lakers should be, feeling pretty good about themselves. They did finish 5-2 on the road trip. Tom, I wanted to ask you this. I saw a little bit more aggressive KCP, especially early on. I like that. No, the box score says 4 out of 13 and 3 out of 6 from 3-point area, which is okay. But again, I thought he was very aggressive, and that's what I like to see.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. He missed his first couple threes that he took, and then he hit 3 straight. And it's strange because I also saw Kenny miss a couple of layups that I thought he should have easily made. So you don't know what's going on. I mean, I know that he keeps being referred to as being inconsistent, and that was his history up until right after the start of last year, and then he basically played the last 3/4 of the season in the playoffs as probably the most consistent player on the team. And so far this year, up until this stretch on the road, he's been Mr. Consistency. So I don't know. You almost feel like something contagious is going around with the Lakers that
don't start saying that. Don't
Well,
start
you know,
saying that.
everybody talks about how well they were shooting the three, and the truth is that they've been averaging. They were at one point averaging 15 threes. Now they're down to 11 or 12 a game. Today we only had them make 7 threes, and that's the real part, because when you're killing people, you do one of two things: either you're dunking the ball on them over and over and over, or you're raining threes on them. That's how blowouts happen. And we haven't been doing either one of those things, and it's just like we got off of that 9-2 start and took bad shots. That's what throws the offense off every time. If there's anything that will ignite the other team to come back, it's taking a bad shot when you should be putting your foot on the pedal and heading in for an easy shot, or driving and dishing, for an easy three from the. There were very few open threes tonight, and you have to give credit to the defense. They played pretty good defense. They definitely played like a top 10 defensive team tonight, because I can't remember many open threes, and almost every shot was challenged. And even the shots that AD did, he had a good percentage from the floor, but man, he was making some tough shots, in the 10-foot range. Quick turnarounds and shots with a lot of activity, and hitting the floor so many times I couldn't even count them. I think that Vogel's got to be dissatisfied with the offense, and we need to have a lot more ball movement. It's not the way that we're playing it well. There's 2 or 3 plays where I hear the announcers say that these are obviously the Atlanta Hawks announcers, because I'm watching the game on League Pass. But the Hawks announcers say, "Oh, beautiful ball movement from the Lakers." Well, that happened only like a half a dozen times in the whole game. We got out-assisted by them. We got out-rebounded by them. We won the points in the paint by just barely. And frankly, I think we got out-dunked by them. It was a tough game in that sense that we did not look like a dominant team, and we really had to hustle at the end in order to pull it out.
Sean?
Yeah, I was just going to add, Gerald. I realized tonight was kind of a slog for us, but I was really encouraged by our defense. I mean, Atlanta is really a pace team. People really kind of get focused on the score, and that can kind of skew you, the real tenor of the game. Atlanta likes to push the ball. They like to have a lot of possessions. Trae Young, they're really trying to force a facilitator role down his throat almost. I mean, he's a natural passer, but it almost feels to me like Lloyd Pierce is just forcing him to be a facilitator. I think that's the wrong way to game plan for him. I think you need to let that guy off the leash and let him go. Let him run the team.
Well, it's something that we need to go ahead and, on the offensive end, just try to find a more consistent flow. I agree with Tom on that. When it's so based on isolation, I mean, that's not really good. It's not good basketball. I mean, the ball is so much better for the Lakers when it's flowing, when it's going back and forth, passing. You've got Marcus Gasol. Got to let him do something. So you got to let him help facilitate that offense. You've got Dennis Schroeder, who can penetrate in the lane. LRob, I want to ask you, I mean, you're watching the Lakers now. It is really stagnant at times with the Lakers and what LeBron is doing, or let's throw it into AD and watch him dribble 10 times, or throw it out to LeBron and he'll dribble it out 10, 15 times. I mean, this is not the way we were playing at the start of the season. The ball was moving. It was hopping. It was going back and forth. People were distributing, and it felt more fun. Plus, again, and I'm going to stress again, they are not going out as much transition, which I also think creates a lot more pressure on the defense. Even if you don't make it, it just creates a lot more pressure on the defense.
Well, those matchups that you get in the first 8 seconds.
Oh, I was asking LRob.
Okay, sorry.
No, don't worry, LakerTom.
So what was your question, Gerald?
Oh, I was saying, are you seeing the same things we are as far as what LakerTom was saying, as far as the ball's not moving?
Yeah.
We need to create more transition. We just need to make a lot easier points for ourselves. And right now, we're not doing it.
Yes, 100%, and especially in fourth quarters. We really slow down in fourth quarters. And I don't know if this is a recent trend, but it doesn't seem like LeBron goes to the. I would be interested to see his shot selection charted throughout the course of the game, because it seems like in the last 6 minutes of the game, he's pretty much just a three-point shooter. He's not attacking the basket. So I think a lot of that is going to be, on LeBron, and, maybe it is some fatigue. Maybe he does need to, just go ahead and take a day off and refresh his body instead of trying to play each and every game. But yeah, definitely. They definitely need to move the ball, move some bodies. Schroeder, Dennis he's capable. Let him run the show more. Let him attack more. Let him be aggressive. Put him in pick and rolls. Let him create more. And I think that would help as well. I know he went through a big slump. He seemed to bounce back the last couple games. So, yeah, turn him loose a little bit more.
I agree with you on that. Sean, I want to ask you this before I send it back to LakerTom, before we head on out. There's a little bit of a trade deadline, I would say, so to speak, but there is, starting tomorrow, sort of a deadline for certain trade for certain players that become eligible and hit certain markers as far as their salary is concerned. So some people are looking in the NBA are looking at tomorrow as kind of being like a mini trade deadline, so to speak. That's not the official one per se, but because there are certain contracts involved that it is. Oh, and thank you for the thumbs up. We truly appreciate it. There are certain individuals out there in the league that it is better to trade them now. One of the names has been bandied about is JJ Redick. Of course, LakerTom's favorite player on the planet Earth, Lonzo Ball, is also being. I'm kidding when I say that. Is also being bandied about.
I like Lonzo.
Okay. Well, did you get that sweatshirt? Did you get the hoodie? Did you get the
hoodie?
No,
I didn't get the hoodie. Sorry about that.
Well, the Lakers don't. The NBA store does not have on those sweet Graham black running suits yet, and I'm really mad about that. I want that warm-up suit. But MagicMan, getting back to what I'm talking about, do you see Lakers or any other major trades coming up here within the next 24 hours? I think at the most it might be just JJ Redick, but there might be just a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you're right, Gerald. I think at most, I think perhaps JJ Redick gets moved. I've also heard that there's a rumor going about that Golden State and New Orleans are talking about Lonzo for Kelly Oubre.
Yeah, I would never take that. Sorry, Kelly, Mr. 2 for first 30, I think, 35 or something like that. Yeah, no, thank you for 3-pointer.
No. But it does make a lot of sense for Golden State, I gotta say. I mean, that's another defender, that's another facilitator on the floor for Steph and Clay, and well, let's face it, they're getting Minnesota's pick, so they're probably gonna grab another quality lottery player. So that trade makes a lot of sense for them. But like you said, Gerald, why would New Orleans even think about making a deal like that?
Well, it doesn't make any sense. I understand that it was a knee-jerk reaction for them getting Kelly Oubre in the first place when Klay Thompson went down, but it doesn't make any sense to go ahead and say, you know what, if you're on New Orleans side, I understand how much Kelly Oubre is costing you because of the fact you're way over the salary cap, and it's I think his salary times 4 or something. The way it works out like if there's
mil.
Yeah, it's just a huge amount. It's like 86, right? I think it's like it's 86. In the 80s. Yeah, that's just insane. So if they get stuck with that bill, no wonder they're trying to trade him. If I was New Orleans, I would just laugh and say, ha, suckers. That's what I would say. That's personally me, because I'm not going to go ahead and help them out and help their cap out, if that's the case, unless I'm getting something really, really good for it. So I don't know. But again, there is a small trade deadline. It's not the official hard trade line, but trade deadline, but due to the fact that some players' salaries they'll kick in. I think out on the second, if I'm not mistaken, there's going to be a deadline for some teams to go ahead and rush out and make some minor trades out there. So we'll see and monitor if that happens. But guys, I mean, we're going home 5-2. I can't complain too much because we were one Tobias Harris shot away from being 6-1. And then let's just forget about Detroit. It never happened. But before we head out, I'd like to forget it never happened, but I like to forget it happened. But LakerTom, before we head on out and before I send it over to LRob and MagicMan, please let everyone know what you're doing at LakerHolics.com, my friend.
Well, I've been trying to trade Marc Gasol.
For Lonzo Ball?
No, actually, Marc Gasol for Lonzo Ball. I would take that trade, except that the dollars don't match, so it's hard to do that. Lonzo makes $13 million a year, and Mark only makes 2.5, so it makes a very difficult deal. But no, I created 4 trades looking for a defensive center, a center who could help our rim protection and also defend on the perimeter to do the types of things like the defense we played at the end of the game, where you basically want your big to hedge and trap and double the ball handler, and prevent them from getting into their shot and make them give up the ball. So I've been terribly disappointed with Marc Gasol.
Not to say I told you so, because we're on good terms.
Yeah, no, listen, I thought that Mark would. I thought Mark had more left than he does now, and now the thought that we have a 2-year contract with him, and unless he were to voluntarily retire, we're still on the line. I hope so for 2 years. But I do think there's a couple of interesting situations. One being that where he came from, might be a good place for him to go back. I'd love to work a deal with Chris to get Chris Boucher. I also like Nerlens Noel. Noel's the 4th-ranked defensive player among centers in the league.
In today's game, blocked 5 shots.
Yeah, he's a great shot blocker. I've always liked Willie Cauley-Stein, so anytime I'm talking about trading for
it's hungry for a hot dog in the middle of halftime.
I like him, and then obviously my favorite is Miles Turner, who's leading the league in blocks for the 2nd year in a row, and it would be a great find for the Lakers. It's going to be hard to get. It's hard to get somebody like Turner or Boucher, but I think that there's a good chance that the Lakers might be able to trade for Willie Cauley-Stein or for Nerlens Noel.
If Dallas keeps playing the way they are now, and in fact they're on their way, possibly even losing tonight, which would put them like 8-13, that's a good possibility. Willie Cauley-Stein, somebody who I've always liked.
Well, he's got size. He's 240 pounds, 7 feet, and he can defend on the perimeter. He's the guy who can block shots from 3-point shooters. So it's difficult. We made a trade where we wanted to be able to play the kind of defense like we played at the end of the game, because we saw that trend happening during the year, and we saw that JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard basically that having to play that type of defense was not their forte. But in the process, we really hurt our rim protection to a certain extent. Harrell makes up for it on offense, and he makes up for it on taking charges. And an occasional block, and Gasol's great at stripping the ball from guys and using his body to keep guys in, but he's getting dunked on more times than anybody I can remember playing center for the Lakers. So
who we should try and get? Boogie.
Well, Boogie's a whole different game now than the old Boogie. Boogie's basically a lumbering 3-point shooter out there who's getting killed underneath, and he's not,
It's
he lumbered his way to 17-8 today.
He'll have it when you're a guy like Boogie. It just depends on the matchup. You can come out good, but he's going to be Marc Gasol out on the perimeter.
I think he could beat Marc Gasol in a foot race. I don't know. LRob, MagicMan, do you think I think he can.
Still, I'm not so sure about that.
May still be going on right now if they started it this morning. So
yeah,
but he did hit.
It's sort of like Charles against the referee.
Dick
All right.
Pavetta.
Yes.
The Dick Pavetta race.
Okay.
He was
Well,
a
I'm
great
just
ref.
throwing
I
that out
miss him.
there.
No, I don't think that we got. It'll be interesting. We've got about 3 weeks and 3.5 weeks, I think, until the trade deadline, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the Lakers make a move because I don't see anybody that's going to be waived or anybody who's a free agent right now who makes any sense to get.
Well, with the play-in situation, it adds 2 more teams into the mix as
Right.
far as teams that think they have a chance. So that's 2 more teams that will want to go ahead and keep their assets as long as they feel that they have a chance. But
I mean, I'd love to get an Nerlens Noel or a Willie Cauley-Stein. I think they're both attainable players that would help our rim protection.
But don't sleep on Boogie. He's doing well now. He's doing well. But LRob, I know you wanted to go ahead and finish out strong for us as well. What you got cooking as far as for comments out there that you want to go ahead and, or at least what are you looking for from the Lakers going forward, my friend?
Just to piggyback on the whole trade thing, though, I think it's a Laker tax going on right now. So if we do get a trade, be prepared to overpay. I don't think, Mark Cuban is not going to let the Lakers get Willie Cauley-Stein without charging a heavy tax. And it's pretty much, I think we're back to that position again in the league where people are like, oh, no, don't send them to the Lakers.
It's not just another team, is it now, when you're dealing with the Lakers?
Yeah. So as far as upcoming things, I'm just looking forward to the game against Denver, really. I'm just focused on the return home. That's our weak spot. We have no post defenders who can check a big man. So we very well could see Denver. Let's see. We are in the 2nd seed spot. If we do get 1st seed, Denver could be in the 4th seed spot, so we could be playing them in the 2nd round. So we better figure that out.
And that's something I wanted to tell LakerTom is that in this matchup only, this was a good matchup for Dwight Howard. Howard did play well. Yeah, he did play well.
That's the one playoff that Dwight was very valuable for.
Yeah, so I will give him that. But then again, you can't just keep someone around for one playoff. So I understand.
Yeah, and Dwight hasn't exactly been lighting it up this year. He's playing well. Both he and JaVale both are showing lower defensive ratings than they had last year. Part of that is obviously they're not playing on the Lakers, where they've got good defenders around them, but neither one of them has really shown much that would make us regret that decision.
I didn't know Cleveland.
We'll see. This is one of the tests. Obviously, Jokic and Embiid are the 2 tests that Marc Gasol was thought to be able to give us a competitive center. Now, obviously, Embiid. I thought Joel should have been talking about how it was easier to take care of Marc Gasol than Anthony Davis. But we'll find out then in test number 2 to see how Joker takes care, how Gasol takes care of Joker. That'll be an interesting matchup. I think the Lakers have to, they've got to do the same thing that you do with every team's superstar, which is basically to double them and rotate. That's the Lakers' strength.
And that could be scary because if they put MPJ out there, and you send it out to MPJ, he's deadly out there. Excellent shooter for a big man. And then
they got several excellent shooters. So
Murray has been
rotate.
Murray has been underwhelming so far, but then again, he's right around 20 points a game. So underwhelming for him is still very good for a lot of other players. But I get you, my friend. I get you on that. I mean, the Lakers
it's Joker Joker's the guy who's playing well on that team.
Yeah.
He's the guy who's going to make it happen if they're going to beat us.
Absolutely.
So you stop him and don't worry about the other guys.
Well, but you do worry about it because he facilitates. And if you do double him, they're going to facilitate to Murray or they're going to facilitate out to Barton or MPJ. They've got a pretty good team in Denver. So we'll see what happens there. Defensively, they can't keep up like they did last year. That's, I think, there's Achilles heel because they got rid of their defenders. And Jeremy Grant says hello from Detroit. I just beat the Lakers. So
why would a guy go to Detroit? Nothing personal, LRob, but why would a guy choose to go from Denver to Detroit?
I think he wanted to be the man.
Yeah,
yeah, right.
Money.
But they
Well,
offered the same money. They offered the same money.
Yeah, Denver
man.
offered the same money, but he wanted to be the man. He wanted to be the face of the franchise. He saw that this was his opportunity. If he stays in Denver, he's going to be on a very good team, but he's going to be the fourth piece, the fourth wheel on a very good team. He was there now to go ahead and be the main guy on it. But
how many of us doubted whether he could really be like the top dog? And he's proven that he's a very good player. I mean, I had reservations. I was like, why are the Pistons overpaying for this guy? But I mean, he's been the one guy that's brought it pretty much every night. I mean, he's played very well.
I mean, they might even allow him to be an all-star. I mean, he's playing like an all-star, but it all depends on if you take from, they don't usually like to take from one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference. Right. But if they do, he and Beal are candidates to go ahead and be all-stars, even though they're on such bad teams. But before we head on out, I want to go ahead and give the floor to the Magic Man, because I know he's working on some stuff as well for LakerHolics.com. So what is out there in your land out there? I hope it's not sex land like we were talking about with Cleveland, but what's up with you and LakerHolics.com?
Well, Gerald, we're going to have to give a very hearty happy birthday to the former ABA. Today, they turned 53. The ABA brought us the advent of the three-point shot. They brought flair to the NBA. I'm sorry, but Dr. J and all those guys did bring
love that basketball
with them. Yeah, it was a great brand. It was a great brand of basketball. Of course, 4 teams from the ABA came.
Love the red, white, and blue.
Yeah, I think they should bring that back for like a game or two during the season. Just it's a shared history, man, and we need to. I think we need to do a better job of just presenting our history as NBA fans and the game that we love, and because there's so much to it, and that was just a little wrinkle of what flair and what the advent of the three-point shot could bring. I mean, we could go into the history of the three-point shot with the Harlem Globetrotters and Abe Saperstein. He's the one who originally started it, but the ABA turned it into a weapon. So I'm going to be writing a little article about that.
Well, you're the man. You're our resident historian at LakerHolics.com. So check out all the great things that LakerTom, MagicMan, and LRob are doing when they go ahead and make those great comments and also those great articles at LakerHolics.com. Even when you see Admiral Akbar, a GIF, just magically appeared right below one of the postings there for Jamie Sweet. And big shout out to Jamie. He couldn't make it tonight, but again, we just truly appreciate all you guys being part of today's show. It was the Lakers going home, 5-2 record. We'll take it. We'll take it. Not quite what LakerTom and I were expecting. Actually, LakerTom said undefeated, I think. I think at the very end, he said 7-0, 6-1, 7-0 to cover his tracks. To cover his tracks there, but it was the Lakers going home 5-2. LRob was right. LRob needs to go to Vegas. Right over here. You need to come down to one of the casinos down the street here and go ahead because you got it right. 5-2 on the road trip, heading home after 107-99 victory. Guys, I just truly appreciate you guys, just hanging out with me again for the Lakers Fast Break. If you have any questions for us, at LakerTom, at MagicMan on Twitter, at Lakers Fast Break on Twitter. LRob, any social media?
No, I'm kind of low profile. I'll just live through you guys.
It's smartest man at LakerHolics.com right there for you. Right there. No social media means no hassle for you. Right there you go, indeed. But guys, it's been awesome that you guys were part of this. Again, the Lakers go home, a 107-99 victor over the Atlanta Hawks. And again, we'll see you Thursday. Denver, going to be a very important game. Always like these tests. And after that, if they can get through this, the schedule should be a little bit lighter because they have some easy games on the horizon after that. So I'll tell you what. Yes. Well, home cooking hopefully will be good for the Lakers now that they're back. We'll see.
It's good that they have a tough game coming up because that's what they need right now. They need a game to motivate them. And Denver, after taking care of Utah, should be that target.
We'll see if you're saying the same thing on Thursday night. Okay.
I'm sure they will.
All right. Sounds good.
Walk away win.
All right. Well, there you go. There you have it. Once again, it is LakerTom, LRob, MagicMan. Follow what they're doing today at Lakerholics.com. But we will see you Thursday after the game against Denver right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.